Hey, Didexter here with another great math video. Today we are talking about how to create a histogram. All right, so check this out. First, let's go over some definitions and some uses of a histogram. So we'll slide over here a little bit, and we'll see that here. So what is a histogram exactly? So a histogram is a graphical representation of data points organized into user-specified ranges. All right, so they're very similar to a bar graph. So what we're doing is we're taking the information, we're synthesizing it from a list of values, and we're making a graph to show that so that we can see the information that's there. So let's look at some of the words we're going to be using today, some of the words that are associated with creating a histogram. One is the range. Okay, one of the things we're going to have to do is find the range. The range is the difference between the highest value and the lowest value in the data set. Okay? Then we have the class size. All right, so when we create a histogram, we're going to be filling these bins up, if you will, or these columns with values and a frequency of values. So those are classes, and then there's a class size, which is the width, okay, of the value. So it's the difference between the upper and lower boundaries of a class. So that is the class size, or the width of what we're going to look at. Then we have the class itself. What is a class? It's a specified group of values given the number of values in the data set. All right, so this will make more sense as soon as we get into it. All right, so let's look at what are the steps to do when we're creating a histogram. All right, so number one is we're going to order the data numerically low to high. Okay? Now, you can also create what we call a dot plot, where the dot plot is on a line and we make these little X's above the values that we have within the data set. So a lot of people will do that instead of organizing them, because it basically puts it in order for you, and you can keep track of the number of values that you have. So second thing we want to do is find the range. Again, the range is the high value of the data set minus the low value of the data set. So then we're going to choose the number of classes. All right, so the classes was a specified group of values given the number of data sets. Well, for us in statistics, typically we use anywhere from 5 to 8 depending on the number of values in the set. So if I've got a really large set of data, maybe 100 numbers, then I might want more classes to put them into. But if you have anywhere from, say, 10 to 30 values or so, you're going to choose anywhere from 5 to 8, because you're really just trying to put the information in a group where you can see more realistic where it is. All right? Then, step 4, we're going to find the class size. And the class size, you're going to take the range, so the value, the difference between the high and the low, over the number of classes, so either 5 to 8 or so. And hint, after we do that, we're going to use values of 0.5 or so to help separate the values and determine which bucket they're going to go into or which class they're going to go into. And finally, we're going to create an XY graph, and with X is on the data values that were given, and then the Y will be what we call the frequency, or the number of times it occurs. So we should have put that in our definition, but remember, frequency is the number of times we see the value. Okay, so let's look at the first example. Example number 1. All right, here we have a data set of 4, 9, 12, 8, 7, 8, 7, 10, 8, 9, 6, 8. Okay. So the first thing we want to do was, what? Order the data. So I've already gone ahead and done that. We go through 4 through 12, and this helps us see the values that are there. All right, now, the next thing we need to do is find the range. So we said that the range is the highest value minus the lowest value. So in this case, 12 is our highest value, and 4 is our lowest. So we'll go 12 minus 4, which is 8. So that's our range. Our range is 8. Now, we need the number of classes. Okay, so we're going to find the number of classes. Now over here we said that typically, depending on the number of pieces of information you have, it's anywhere from 5 to 8. So I'm going to go on the low side here, and I'm going to use 5. Okay, so I'm going to say that the number of classes is equal to 5. Okay, so now we're going to find the class size. Well, the class size, again, is the range divided by the number of classes. So we're going to take 8 divided by 5, which is 1.6, okay, or our class size is 1.6. Well, 1.6 is a weird value, so let's go ahead and use 2. We'll round it up to 2, okay? So our class size is 2. Now, you're going to see when we do this here that we're going to use 0.5 values because look at my numbers. If I go from 4 to 6, if I start off with 4 and I go to 6, well, that one's easy to determine, but then I go from 6 to 8, so does 6 go now in the 6 to 8 bucket, or does it go into the 4 to 6? So that's why we use half sizes, okay? So now, let's go ahead and work on our graph. So I've gone ahead, for the ease, I've gone ahead and labeled my graph correctly. This is the shoe size, right? We're looking at shoe sizes up here. So these are the sizes, these are the values, and I went ahead and used 2, but I made half sizes. I went 3.5 to 5.5 to 7.5 to 9.5 to 11.5 and 13.5. Why? Because I don't have any half sizes in my data set, okay? So that way, if I have a 4 or a 6 or a 7 or 8, they always will fit into a specific class or bucket. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my data set and I'm going to fill in this information. So I want to look. I've got 4 and 6. Well, the only thing that fits between 3.5 and 5.5 is the 4. So I'm going to say, okay, so I'm going to put that 4 in here. So I'm going to just go up, go there, and like that. And then I'll just make this so I know that I've got one set of information between 3.5 and 5.5. Okay, so now I'm going to choose between 5.5 and 7.5. So let's see. I've got a 6, a 7, and a 7. So I've got 3 pieces of information. So I'm going to go up to 3, down, and then this one is my 6 to 7. Now I've got 8s to 9s. So I've got 7.5 to 9.5. Well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to have to increase my graph to 5 and 6. And then I will go here and go up to 6, over and go down to 9.5. And I'm going to make this so I can shade that in blue. Okay? So now we're looking for 9.5 to 11.5. Well, the 12 doesn't fit in that range, but the 10 does. So I'm going to use the 10, and I'll go here at 1 and go down, and so that will be my 10. And then I've got one for 12. So I'll simply take 112, add that on at 1, and then that's my 12 range. Okay? So again, we find the number, we order the data, we find the range, we find the range, we choose the number of classes, typically 5 to 8, find the class size, and we create our X and Y graph, and then we order our data. Again, find the range, set of classes, class size, and then we can draw. And I'm kind of going all over the place today with this, but it's all right, good. And then we're going to draw our histogram. We're going to label it properly, and then we're going to create the colors in this. Okay? And that will give us the data for what we want in the histogram. All right, thanks again. Hope you have a great time, and we'll see you next time. And we hope you have a great night, and we'll see you soon. Be mathy. Thanks.